Good morning. My name is Lynette Dillon, and I'm with National Crop Insurance Services. I am the Training and Education Director, and I welcome you to our Livestock Risk Protection for Lambs webinar. During the next hour or so, we are going to be discussing lambs in terms of the Livestock Risk Protection Plan. The first thing I want to do is make sure that as we go through the webinar, you know that the acronym for livestock risk protection is LRP, and you'll be seeing that several times through the slides as we go through the webinar this morning. So let's get started. Let's talk about the primary focus. This webinar will provide participants with information on livestock risk protection for lambs to help manage the risk. LRP is also available for swine, fed, and feeder cattle in other states. However, just in Pennsylvania, lambs are the only LRP product or commodity that is available. We will also review the federal crop insurance structure as it relates to a livestock policy. And last but not least, let's talk about engaging the services of a livestock insurance agent. Most crop insurance agents are livestock agents and have taken the training to be so. In order to be a livestock agent, you must first pass 3 hours of training just for that product, and every year after you have to take additional training for updates and reviews for that product. Our highlights today for this webinar will include livestock introduction, just a little bit about the lamb product. We'll also go through the livestock basic provisions along with the reporting requirements for this product. I'll also go over a premium example and an indemnity example. And most importantly, we'll talk about, or we'll end this webinar talking about the important lamb dates. All right, so our first part of the webinar will just be to introduce you to the LRP product. The LRP Lamb insurance policy provides protection against unexpected declines in the national average price of slaughter lambs. An economic model is used to predict the expected price of slaughter lambs each week. An indemnity is paid if the weekly settlement value is less than the expected price for a specific coverage level. The weekly settlement value is a 5-week average, which means the current week and the previous 4 weeks of actual national weekly average slaughter lamb prices using the weekly calculated formula live prices. The price that the producer actually receives for their own lambs is not part of the calculations. Producers and feeders may continue to market their own lambs through their own market channels and at the maximum price they can negotiate. However, the actual price received by producer is not used with respect to this line of insurance. Farmers may also choose from a variety of coverage levels and insurance periods that match their general feeding, production, and marketing practices. The lambs covered under the policy are either feeder or slaughter lambs that, as of the effective date for the specific coverage endorsement, are currently owned, they're already born, and they're not subject to any agreement with any buyer or potential buyer offering to purchase the lambs at a specified price, and they'll not be made subject to such an agreement until not more than 30 days prior to the policy end date. The lambs covered under the policy are feeder slaughter animals also that are expected by the ending period to weigh between 50 and 150 pounds and to be of an age that qualifies for the USDA Ag Marketing Service grade standards definition of live lambs. Any producer who owns lamb in the following 28 states, and I've indicated those states on the slide, is eligible for LRP lamb coverage. Remember, at the time insurance attaches, the insured lambs must be physically located in a state where livestock risk protection lamb insurance is offered for sale. However, the insured lambs may subsequently be moved to any other state. All right, let's talk a little bit about sales. This is a product that has weekly sales. So the LRP Lamb will be offered for sale each week following the posting of rates Monday morning through 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. When Monday falls on a federal holiday, the LRP Lamb will be offered on Tuesday during the same hours. The LRP Lamb insurance coverage prices and rate estimates may be available for review beginning on the previous Friday evening. However, make sure you understand that rates and coverage values may be modified prior to sales beginning on Monday morning. Therefore, the final rates and coverage values may differ somewhat from the previously posted estimates. Let's go next and talk about the endorsement length and coverage levels. First of all, insurance is offered for 13, 26, or 39-week periods. So as a farmer, you need to choose the time closest to the time the lambs will be marketed. Producers can purchase as little as 80% coverage and as much as 95% coverage of the price in 5% increments. Coverage prices will be listed for each coverage level for each of the endorsements, the 13, 26, or 39 weeks, during the sales period each week. Subsidy is based on the endorsement length. From the previous slide, remember there are 3 endorsement lengths, 13, 26, and 39. If you take a look at the slide, let's take a look at the subsidy factors. For 13 weeks, the subsidy factor is 0.200, 26 weeks, 0.350, and for 39 weeks, 0.380. So the longer the length, the higher the subsidy factor. All right, in front of you right now is exactly what you will see on the Risk Management Agency website when they release the expected end values and the rates on Monday during the sales period. So let's take a close look at this. Coverage prices, rates, and coverage levels are available in the weekly actuarial documents shown above, and again, they're found on the RMA website for the Livestock Risk Protection Program. Coverage prices change weekly and must be referred to at the time of sale for each endorsement. So let's start going through this table and take a look at the important parts that you should know. First of all, you need to determine your endorsement length. And remember, the endorsement length is 13, 26, or 39 weeks, and that's the choices that you have. Then you go to the expected end value column. This is the expected end value column. This is the expected end value at the end of the endorsement period. The official definition for expected end value is the market price expected at the end of the insurance period and found in the actuarial documents. The expected ending value is a live weight value and is used in calculations on a dollars per hundredweight basis to determine coverage prices. So note the coverage level column of 90% coverage level and 85% for each endorsement length. So these are the first 4 line items are the coverage levels for the 13-week endorsement period. And then go on and you can see here the different coverage levels based on the different endorsement length. Then the rate, which is right beside the coverage level. This is the rate column. This is used to calculate the premium. And then at the very end of the column, note the end date column. Okay, this one's August 5th, November 4th. This one comes down as February 3rd of next year. And then at the very end of the column, is the actual end value. So let's talk a little bit about that. Depending on the endorsement length chosen, the last column will be filled in based on the price at the end of the insurance period. So, for example, on August 5th here, the actual end value will be listed for the 13-week endorsement. If the actual end value is less than the expected end value shown in this column, an indemnity will be paid for the difference between the expected price and the actual ending value. It's a very simple plan of insurance. If the actual end value is less than the expected end value, you get paid an indemnity. Now, one thing I do want to remind you of, that the actual end value has nothing to do with what the farmer or you get at market or slaughter. All right, so this is actually a slide where I've listed the RMA website where you could find that previous slide. And there's also some additional information on livestock here. So if you want to make note of that browser website, again, that's where you'll find the chart that I just showed you. Once you engage the services of a livestock agent, they will have access to that chart. In fact, if you look right here, this is the LRP coverage prices, rates, and actual ending values chart. You would just click on that. Let's talk about that price again. The price series is found in the AMS National Weekly Slaughter Sheep Review. This price series can also be found on the AMS website or a successor website. The reports used to calculate the actual ending value will be a simple moving average of the prices from these 5 reports published each of the 4 preceding weeks leading up to and including the end date for the specific coverage endorsement that contains the Friday report on or just prior to the end date. All right, so that covers just some basics on the plan. Let's talk about basic provisions for livestock. First of all, we're going to talk about the relationship that makes up the federal crop insurance program. First of all, let's discuss Risk Management Agency, or the Federal Crop Insurance Corporation. The federal side is split into the Federal Crop Insurance Corporation, otherwise known as FCIC, and the Risk Management Agency, known as RMA, with RMA acting as the manager for FCIC. So the FCIC's role is to establish new and revised commodity crop insurance programs, policy provisions, rules, and regs, including the information for livestock. The Risk Management Agency manages the FCIC and oversees the livestock insurance program, administers the actuarial data and premium discounts, and provides support and outreach. Moving on to the approved insurance provider. Throughout the webinar, I may refer to the approved insurance provider as an AIP, the insurance provider, or your crop insurance company. During our time together today, all these terms refer to the company described on this slide. 14 crop insurance companies have signed an agreement with the federal government to write the federal product, also known as MPCI, and also livestock. So the approved insurance providers obtain strategic reinsurance agreements with the Risk Management Agency to sell and service the crop insurance policies, including the livestock plans. Let's focus next on the agent. The agent provides the product and premium information to the insured. They collect the required information on the forms, including, and in this case for livestock, the application and the specific coverage endorsement. Their job is also to build a relationship with you. They must stay current with the livestock insurance program, and they receive a policy commission from the insurance provider. The linchpin of the relationship is you, our farmers. As a farmer, you have ownership in the livestock and you enter into a contract to insure it. You must report the required information, pay the premium, and you will receive an indemnity payment when the actual ending value is less than the predetermined level for this livestock risk protection product. Before we dig into the details, we have to talk about a critical piece of the crop insurance puzzle, how to find an agent. So if you take a look at the slide in front of you, I have copied and pasted the website for Risk Management Agency, and notice I have a red arrow pointing to find an agent. Okay, I've also included the website address to get to the agent locator screen, or you could just go to the Risk Management Agency website, and this is what you'll see on their website. Now, your crop insurance agent is your local expert and best resource on how, when, and what kind of livestock coverage to add to your risk management toolkit. Livestock insurance is available through independent crop insurance agent licensed in your state. So once you click on this link where it says find an agent, you will see the next screen. It looks like this. And one of the most important parts of the screen that I want to point out to you is under specialty. So once you click on that, you'll have to sort by, of course, distance, specialty, and I want to emphasize here the livestock. If you need a different language, and of course, the distance from your location. So to summarize, to buy a policy, you must buy an LRP Lamb insurance through a livestock insurance agent. You can fill out an application at any time. However, insurance does not start until you buy a specific coverage endorsement. You must pay the insurance premium the day you buy insurance coverage for the coverage to actually start. You may buy multiple specific coverage endorsements with one application. Your insurance coverage starts the day you buy a specific coverage endorsement and RMA approves the purchase. Let's next go into the basic provision reminders. This is just a quick refresher on applications, person types, and coverage limitations. So a farmer may submit a one-time application for LRP Lamb coverage. After the application is accepted, you may buy specific coverage endorsements. So an application first is required to purchase this type of coverage. It does establish your eligibility, and the insurance coverage is not attached to the application until the producer submits a specific coverage endorsement. Now, I've talked about this specific coverage endorsement several times already through this webinar. Just understand that I'll go through the details of that a little bit later in the hour. The application also identifies the insured and the classes of livestock or livestock product to be insured. All right, next let's review the person type. This is the entity you operate for your sales and marketing. For example, if you sell as an individual and are married, you insure as an individual spousal person type. If you do business as a partnership with an employer identification number, you should insure under the partnership name and report the employer identification number that accompanies the partnership. On this slide, you're going to see the most commonly used person types for livestock. There are several other person types available, but this is mainly what we see when we deal with the livestock products. A Social Security number is acceptable for individual and spousal policies. However, an employer identification number is expected for partnerships, revocable trusts, and limited liability companies. Let's next talk about the substantial beneficial interest. This is also known as the SBI. For this policy and all crop insurance policies, actually, you're going to report all the persons with an interest in you as the insured person of at least 10%. You include the identification numbers. Remember that spouses are presumed to have an SBI of 50%. If your person type would normally include an SBI, from the spousal, partnership, trust, or corporation side, and you do not report the substantial beneficial interest with the valid ID numbers, your application cannot be accepted. Let's go next and talk about the AD 1026 form. This is for conservation compliance. As a farmer, you must comply with the highly erodible land conservation and wetland conservation provisions to be eligible for all premium discounts, whether that be crop insurance or livestock insurance. That form must be on file with the Farm Service Agency on or before the premium billing date for your livestock insurance policy. It is important to check your status. You need to ask your crop or otherwise your livestock insurance agent to check the crop insurance processing system or contact your local Farm Service agent county office. It is important that you check your status before you purchase a policy because you may not be eligible for premium discounts if you don't have an AD 1026 on file with the Farm Service Agency. If you're not eligible for a premium discount and you purchase a policy, you're going to be responsible for all the premium cost. Because this is first and foremost an FSA program, it's ultimately your responsibility to find out your status. Authority to bind coverage. For the livestock risk protection policy, the agents do not have the authority to bind coverage. So this coverage is only bound upon approval when it's processed and when premium is paid. Livestock coverage described on the endorsement begins on that effective date. So it really needs to be processed and a premium paid before your coverage is bound. There are some coverage limitations to this policy. Remember, this policy does not cover any other peril except the change in price. And note here the perils that are not covered under this livestock risk protection policy: mortality, condemnation, physical damage, disease, individual marketing decisions, and local price aberrations. Coverage limitations also specify what's allowed on the application or specific coverage endorsements. They're not going to be approved if the RMA website, such as the premium calculator, is not operational, or the data used for establishing rates or coverage prices are not available because futures did not trade, or perhaps insufficient trading volume, or rates or coverage prices are not timely provided to RMA. A news report, announcement, or other event that occurs during or after trading hours that result in market conditions significantly different than those used to rate this program. Sales are suspended or terminated for insufficient capacity as determined by the Risk Management Agency. Chicago Mercantile Exchange market settlement information for at least 4 of the relevant CME futures contract have a daily price change equal or exceeding the daily price limit for 2 consecutive days. So keep in mind, again, the applications or endorsements will not be approved if these things happen, or even one of those instances happen. All right, let's go into the next part of the webinar and discuss reporting requirements. Now, I've said several times today, I've talked about the specific coverage endorsement. So this is where we're going to discuss that specific coverage endorsement. So in order to obtain coverage, a specific coverage endorsement is used to initiate LRP coverage for a specified group of lambs to be slaughtered on or near the end date of the endorsements. Remember, you as the farmer can have multiple endorsements. So I'm going to cover some questions that I normally get when I talk about the endorsement. First of all, do lambs have to be sold on the day the policy expires? The answer to that is no. An endorsement period needs to be chosen that most closely matches the producer's production or feeding program. So the ownership of lambs must be maintained up to at least the last 30 days of coverage for the endorsement. Otherwise, coverage will be determined or be terminated and no indemnity is paid on that portion of the endorsement. Does it matter if lambs go directly to slaughter when they're sold or when the policy expires? So producers and feeders regularly market lambs in a variety of of ways. First of all, lambs may go directly to slaughter or be grazed or placed on a feed for a time before proceeding to actual slaughter. Insured lambs can be marketed through any manner chosen so long as the lambs are in marketing channels where they're expected to eventually be slaughtered. This includes lambs not yet weaned or lambs on feed. So does it matter if the market weights of lambs don't match the weights of lambs quoted by the AMS in its weekly average national formula purchase lamb price report? The answer to that is no. The weights quoted by AMS are a function of the marketplace at any given time. So producers not paid an indemnity based on his actual lamb weight or the actual price received. Also keep in mind that you can have multiple endorsements in effect at the same time. As far as endorsement limits, a limitation of 2,000 head of lambs may be insured under any one endorsement. As far as annual policy limits, the annual limitation of the number of head of lambs that may be covered during the crop year is 28,000 head. Now for the insured entity, the number of insured lambs will be totaled and may not be more than 28,000 head. So remember when we were talking about the substantial beneficial interest, that form will be used to determine the total head insured by any individual. For an example, let's say Smith Farms has 2,000 head insured under this plan. John Smith has a substantial beneficial interest in Smith Farms and has 90% interest. So what's going to happen is they're going to take those 2,000 head of lamb under Smith Farms and multiply that times the 90% interest that John Smith has, and that equals 1,800 head. John Smith also has lambs under his own name and wants to insure 1,000 head. So the total lambs insured by John Smith are 1,800 plus the 1,000 under his own name, which equals 2,800. This is well below the crop year limit of 28,000 head. As far as premium goes, it must be paid on the day the lamb coverage insurance is purchased for the coverage to be provided. Remember, you may obtain quotes using the Risk Management Agency cost estimator. Speaking of that calculator, I am going to go over a quick estimate for you on the next few slides. So let's jump right into that. So let's assume the following here on our slide. We're in Adams County, of course, the state of Pennsylvania. We've chosen the endorsement length of 26 weeks and the target weight of 1.25 hundredweight. For this time only, we're just going to cover 1,000 head. We're just going to dip our feet into this product, see how it works, and our ownership share is 100%. So remember, to determine that, we need to first of all determine the date the livestock is expected to be ready for slaughter and count the number of weeks until that date. So that's where I come up with the 26 weeks in my example. We're going to choose that endorsement length. Remember, the policy requires the animals to be owned within the last 30 days of insurance to receive any indemnity payment. So based on the chosen insurance period, we're going to determine the end date of the policy. The end date is the date the policy ends. It's calculated by counting the number of weeks the policy length from the effective date, the publication date of the actuarial information. The ending date is always the same day of the week as the effective date. From there, we're going to choose the coverage price from the options shown on the actuarial document based on the chosen policy length. Remember, there's a premium rate associated with the coverage price and policy length. Make sure you determine the target weight per head, and that's where we came up with the 1.25. Remember, the target weight should be the average expected weight for all covered livestock. So the target weight is on a live weight basis and should fall in the range of 0.5 and 1.5 hundredweight. Then we'll determine the number of head of livestock, in our case it's 1,000, that will be ready for slaughter within this time frame. And of course, our ownership share again is 100%. So first of all, you need to determine the insured value. And right now we're just doing this by hand. Remember, we have a calculator on the Risk Management Agency website, but I'm just showing you how easy it is to do by hand. So the first thing we'll do is calculate the insured value, which is the number of head multiplied times the target weight. remember that's live weight and hundredweight, multiplied by the coverage price, multiplied by the insured share. And that is rounded to the nearest whole dollar. So let's take a look at our example over here. We have 1,000 head, a target weight of 1.25 hundredweight. And what I did here is list all the coverage prices for each coverage level. So here's the 95, 90, 85, and 80% coverage level, and you can see the different coverage prices. Multiply that times the ownership of 100%, and here I get my each individual insured values. These prices are based on late April numbers, so just a couple weeks ago is what I based these prices on. Moving on to the next slide, let's discuss total premium. We get the total premium by taking the insured value from the previous slide multiplied by the rate. The total premium is again rounded to the nearest whole dollar. So let's take a look at this example. The insured value is from the previous slide, and you can see the 4 instances here based on the coverage levels. I multiplied that times the rate from the actuarial document, and this is what I get for total premium. Okay. Remember, this is based on late April numbers. The next slide, we're going to talk about how to get the subsidy or the premium discount. Remember, the premium discount depends on the endorsement length, and that equals the premium multiplied by the subsidy rate. Again, it's rounded to the nearest whole dollar. So in our example here, the endorsement calculated was for 26 weeks. So I took here the rounded total premium from the previous slide. Here again, the 4 different coverage levels, multiplied that by the subsidy. Remember, I showed you that slide at the very first of our webinar. So here's the subsidy for 26 weeks, and that equals the rounded, we rounded to the nearest whole dollar for subsidy. Let's take that one step further to calculate the producer premium. So here we took, in order to get the producer premium, we take the rounded total premium, again from the previous slide, and the rounded subsidy from the previous slide. We subtract that in order to get the producer premium. Again, that producer premium I've listed for each coverage level, so you can see the difference in prices there. Now, let's talk about an indemnity calculation example. And I've only, in this example, have worked up an example for 95% coverage level. So let's review here. For the our operation, we had 1,000 head of lamb. We had a target weight of 1.25 hundredweight, an insured share of 100%, and a coverage price of $144.28 per hundredweight. So in our example here, the actual ending value is equal to $138 per hundredweight. Now, I will say that $138 is a fake price. It's just something I came up with to show our indemnity example today. So in this example, remember, since 138 actual ending value is less than the coverage price you chose at the beginning of your endorsement, you chose the $144.20 coverage weight. This is less, so you are owed indemnity. So let's take a look at how to calculate that indemnity. First of all, the indemnity is calculated by taking our example of 1,000 head of lamb times our target weight of 1.25, and we get 1,250 hundredweight. The second step is we take that 138 actual ending value. Remember, that's a fake price that I've used for this example. We subtract that from the coverage price chosen at the beginning or on the effective date of your endorsement, and we get $6.28 hundredweight. We take the 1,250 hundredweight multiplied by the $6.28 and come up with a 7,850. We multiply that by your insured share, and that is your indemnity payment on this product based on the 95% coverage level. So that's how you come up with an indemnity calculation. Okay, let's take a look at some important livestock risk protection lamb dates. The cancellation date for this policy is June 30th, and that's also the termination date. The contract change date is April 30th, and I put that out there because you as the farmer need to know that that is the date that the risk management agency might make any changes to the policy or to the handbook or make any changes to this policy. So that will be done by April 30th of each year. To summarize today, the most important parts of this webinar that I want to stress to you is you really need to talk with a livestock agency about the policy details. What we did is cover highlights of the policy today. They always have access to current pricing and coverage options. And when you go and talk to your livestock agent, review different coverage quotes to determine what best fits your risk management needs. That does conclude our livestock risk protection lamb webinar. I want to thank you for listening. Again, if you have any questions, we do appreciate your feedback and you're going to be receiving a survey tomorrow. Thank you.